I would actually say that I don't like investing.
Okay.
I actually like company building. I really like the phase from an inception of an idea to that second or third major iteration of a product. I love the challenge of being this David against some Goliath. We all look at false idols a lot, and we kind of pick people and put them on a pedestal, and we want to emulate them. I actually am not that interested in a bunch of social good. People right now who are in positions of power are there for completely the wrong reasons and shouldn't be. You can see how the system is sort of tilted against you. I would actually say that I don't like investing.
Okay.
I actually like company building. I really like the phase from an inception of an idea to that second or third major iteration of a product. That's where I feel the most comfortable, from 0 to a few hundred employees. I love the challenge of being this David against some Goliath. I like being an underdog. I like kind of just working all hours on something, being elbow to elbow with people that just, have nothing going for them other than just a lot of chutzpah.
Right.
And that's just a really, really cool, pretty badass kind of environment for me.
Right.
I don't really like being some corpo execu type or some, the problem is, I think the industry in general, and I think this is the world, we all look at false idols a lot, and we kind of pick people and put them on a pedestal, and we want to emulate them. And invariably what happens is it's the person who shouts the loudest that gets the attention. And I think that's just, that ends up never working. You don't get a lot of credit for being in the bowels of building companies at that phase. But in my opinion, that's where the most value is created. And for me, it's the most fun. So that's why I do it. I actually am not that interested in a bunch of social good, to be honest with you. I'm interested in change. I'm basically convinced that people right now who are in positions of power are there for completely the wrong reasons and shouldn't be. And so the question is, well, how do you change the dynamics and the cycle of power and the balance of power? And in my opinion, when you empower individual people to make decisions, they tend to make more coherent decisions and they tend to make better decisions. And so when you look at a lot of sort of the problems that are ailing the United States or ailing the world, these are problems that bureaucracies have created. So, why is it that we all talk about how education is the most important thing in the world? And every politician to get elected has to have a position on education. But there's more than $1 trillion of student debt. It's the most encumbered sort of thing that an individual has to deal with. At the tail end of spending all of this money now, there's no guarantee of a job or any really meaningful employment. And then the worst thing is, if you actually go bankrupt, that's the one thing that won't get expunged. And so you can see how the system is sort of tilted against you. Right. But all of these people have no incentive to actually change the system. And so from my perspective, I'm more interested in sort of creating a dynamic where actually people are empowered and can live kind of lives where they are self-sufficient economically. They can do whatever they want. They can buy the things they need. They can have a great life. And if you look to these people who, again, we've put as false idols, they're just going to let you down. And they've let us down. And so I feel like technology and smart, people can creatively solve these problems in ways that policy and other things can't. And so I just want to do that because I think it's the right thing to do. I think a lot of people have these frameworks that they use and very rigidly live within these frameworks. The founder has to be technical.
Right.
Or the founder has to be between this age and that age. Or the founder is generally of this gender. Or the founder has to have gone to these schools. Or the founder, and so you develop all of these rules mostly based on the historic look back of what's worked before.
Right.
And what I think that basically eliminates is this idea that most people have the ability to be brilliant at something. And for me, what I'm really trying to figure out is whether they have the right characteristics that allow them to be malleable enough to seize an opportunity. Because, in the world of startups, in my opinion, there's as much, if not more, luck than there is skill. Timing, the right technology decisions at the right time, a few critical hires at the right time, a few critical features at the right time. And frankly, you can have a substandard group of people get those things right and beat what is on paper a tremendously better group of people, right, who didn't make those decisions.
Right.
So what you're really trying to figure out, in my opinion, is how does their mind work? Are they scrappy enough? Are they listening? Are they cynical enough to push back? And those characteristics are hard to define. And I think they're manifested in wildly varying ways. What I'm trying to figure out is whether those things exist. And can I plant enough seeds where the intellectual curiosity of the person will guide the decision, as opposed to some great rhetoric that I may spew and then they just blindly run into a brick wall because that's what they think I told them to do. I think if you ask me who's building the most important indelible company in the world, I've been very public about this, I think it's Jeff Bezos. Part of what he realized was the value of slow compounding. So here's my little theory about company value creation. The faster you build it, that is the half-life. It will get destroyed in the same amount of time. And so when you think about a lot of social businesses, that's played out. And when you see sort of what the top, so does it take 8, 9, 10 years to build a really great consumer business? It'll take 8, 9, 10, 12 years to destroy it. And we may see the tipping point on a couple of these businesses. Right now, we may be seeing it in front of our eyes, regulatory or otherwise. So why is that an important statement? Amassing capital to me is about finding a smart, useful solution to a very hard, practical problem and being slow and methodical. You have to rewire your brain for that to be okay. How do you, in year 2 or year 5, come back to this room for your, what is it called when you get reunion? And say, I'm still working on the same thing. And when somebody says, and how's it going? You have the courage to say, it's hard. I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know. But if you figure it out and you have this moderate growth, moderate compounding, that is the key. That is that's gold. I look at our returns and it's so funny because it's you can get so enthralled by IRRs in our business. And I have friends who run other organizations and they're like, yeah, we posted 92% IRR. And I'm like, well, you can't eat IRR. What does it really mean? And when you unpack it, what you realize is fast money returns can completely really decay long-term thinking and sound judgment. Slow and steady against hard problems. Start by turning off your social apps and giving your brain a break. How does trying to get, posting waffles online relate to me starting a business and accumulating capital? This is wiring your brain for super fast feedback. It's the same brain you're using to build a company. Don't think they're not the same. So you're training your brain here, whether you think it or not, whether you know it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. Acknowledge that these things where you're spending hours a day are rewiring your psychology and physiology in a way that now you have to use to go and figure out how to be productive in the commercial world. So if you don't change this, you are going to get the same behaviors over here. Change this. There's a reason why Steve Jobs was anti-social media. I am telling you I'm not on these fucking apps. I'm not him by any stretch of the imagination. But I am proactively trying to rewire my brain chemistry to not be short-term focused. Having the courage to be yourself, healthy skepticism and cynicism. Do not develop a sense of idolatry around any individual person. In deconstructing myself over the last 10 years, I've become a better person. The byproduct is I think I make better investing decisions because I'm less prone to the wild swings that I went through. But in that process, I've been going through wild swings. Now, I think the swings that I go through, I can tolerate better because they're less psychological and they're more the result of bad structural decision-making versus bad emotional decision-making. So that's been an interesting process.